Hello there, everybody. I just wanted to do a quick little draw and yap session where I just say what I'm thinking about while I draw this illustration. At least it's considered a practice sketch before I actually work on what it is I'm trying to make. So yeah, sit back, relax, and if you want to draw with me, please do so. So it's been a while since I have created anything traditionally, and I just wanted to have a sketchbook filled with a bunch of little sketches that I can refer to later. And these are just random ideas I come up with. There's really no rhyme or reason to any of my art pieces. Once I'm done, I am more than happy to do a sketchbook tour where I can show everything off. But for now, at this point, I'm just drawing a beetle on as a carousel ride, kind of like the carousel horses you see. And yeah, that's basically what I'm drawing. So the whole reason for drawing a beetle as a carousel ride, I was looking at a bunch of beetle illustrations, bug illustrations actually, because I wanted to do some type of art that was related to insects and I wanted to do a collection. However, I couldn't think of any other insect besides the pretty ones like butterflies, moths, orchid mantises. Is mantises the plural for mantis? Or mantisae? That doesn't sound right. I'll come back to it later. But I wanted to draw something that was kind of unconventional, something that people really wouldn't consider pretty for the summer set. And I wanted to explore something, especially with carnivals and fairs. Those have been such a huge nostalgia for me as a kid. And I figured, why not a carousel beetle? And probably not just beetles, but like other insects as well. So maybe I can do a mantis or an ant. But for now, beetles this is actually just kind of an experiment to see, kind of get a grasp of the idea. So the collection I want to make is going to be kind of a summer fall collection, and it's going to be a set of sticker sheets, some notepads. I also want to include and let me know if you heard of this, but a paper garland. Paper garland is basically a long string. It can be rope or twine or whatever, and attached to it are random images made in paper, and they're just cutouts. And I think that would be so cute to have a paper garland of insects as either circus or carnival animals. Do you have a favorite insect or or something like that. It's such a weird question to ask. In Mexico, where I grew up, we had a green fruit beetle. It was basically just a shiny green beetle, and it had kind of like a cream colored band on the side, and on its wings covers it had like kind of like a cream colored edge to it, but it was basically a metallic shiny green body. And I remember watching them when I was a kid, and I would pick them up and just to see them shine in the sun, and they were absolutely gorgeous insects. And then I saw the mummy, and the part where the scarabs come and eat you from the inside out. Yeah, I remember seeing that part and then being scared for my life, and I never picked them up again until years later when I saw one in a garden. I was like, ooh, beetle. And I picked it up. I was like, oh yeah, remember in the mummy where you were afraid that they were going to eat you? It was such a childish thing to be afraid of, but I was 14, to be fair. When I was in college, I had a friend who was taking an art course, and she was telling me that there is a right and wrong way to erase pencil marks. And the wrong way was to go back and forth because you have a chance of bending the paper. And the right way to do it was to go in long strokes, like long motions, and you have to go light because you don't want to mess up the paper. Um, I don't do that as much. Honestly, I didn't know there were rules to this, but I try every so often, but not enough. I don't know. As long as I get what I need to get, that's all I care about. Do you have a favorite process when it comes to creating illustrations traditionally? I love the inking process only because it looks incredibly clean. I love the black and white contrast, and also it's one of those times that I can add juicy details to whatever I'm working on, details that I wouldn't put in the sketch, only to save time. And when I'm inking, that's when I'm able to, add more to it. If there's something on there that I need to add on that I didn't do with the sketch and it's a little bit complicated, I'll just sketch with a pencil, erase it a little bit, and then just go over it with the pen. Otherwise, I'm just adding on. It's like it's basically an improvisation with the inking. And I like that I can be basically wild and free with inking. So with tariffs happening, it kind of forced me to reevaluate what I want to do with my store. I don't want to close it. I really do not want to close my store. I've had it for so many years, and closing it just feels like I am giving up. And if there's one thing you guys have to know about me is that I'm very stubborn, and I don't want to give up until I literally have to. So I don't want to give up my shop. And with tariffs happening, it's feels like somebody's coming up to me and kind of forcing me to stop. um, so because of that, I did what we kind of have to do. We have to evolve with our changing surroundings. It's not great, and we can do the best we can to just make the best of it and control the changes that we can control. So one of the things that I can control is my art business and see what direction we're going to go to. Does that make sense? I don't know. So essentially, I'm reevaluating what products I'm going to sell. And a lot of those products I can make at home. Stickers, notepads, pencil bags and tote bags to an extent, even cups and mugs. I am very fortunate that I have a heat press here at home. I have several heat presses that I can use to make products that I can sell at conventions or have available online. So I think I'm going to be okay. It's just a matter of products that I want to have that are overseas. That's where the problem is. All the good stuff is overseas and all the boring stuff is here. So things like acrylic charms, enamel pins, those are things I make, I have them manufactured overseas, even sticker books and notebooks. And so I'm going to have to find somebody here in the States that can make that. I don't think there is anybody here in the States that can make enamel pins, but acrylic charms, yes. Now, whether or not they're good acrylic charms remains to be said. I don't have a lot of leads though. I'm gonna look around and see what I can find, and maybe I can make a video about those, about working with American acrylic charm makers, excuse me. Other things like washi tape, I would love to have a huge collection of washi tape. I think I can find somebody in the States to make washi tape. I'm not so sure about enamel pins. From what I read online, pin manufacturing is illegal here in the States because it can be used for counterfeiting. But I don't know how true that is. So I haven't done a lot of research on finding places that can make these things, only because I have enough stock as it is. So I haven't had a need to make acrylic charms or make enamel pins. Would I love to make enamel pins again? I absolutely would. I love how my enamel pins came out. I'm going to show them eventually. I'm going to make sure that they look nice, and I'm going to show how I'm going to package them as well. They're going to be part of a mystery bundle, so I'm really excited for that. But essentially, I'm really hoping that the tariff situation goes in such a way that benefits small business people, because at the end of the day, we are the ones who are suffering because of that. I have seen several people either shut down their shop or just stop shipping to the US in general because of the tariffs. So it's really disheartening to see many artists making these decisions, and I pray nobody else has to go through that. And I really hope I don't have to go through that. So we will see. We will see what happens, but from here until then, I'm going to kind of change with the situation, make more paper products. I may have to up the price of other items like my acrylic charms. I really don't want to, but it's looking that way. But until we get to that point, I'm just gonna stick with the news and try and understand tariffs a little bit more, because I keep on hearing like 30 different things explaining it, like 30 different ways on how people are explaining tariffs to me. And when it comes to tariffs and stuff like that, I have the brain of a 5-year-old, and I'm just doing my best. I'm really excited for my next convention. It is SabotinCon in Phoenix, Arizona, Labor Day weekend. It is basically my home convention. It's where I first started, and I'm really excited to go this year because every time I go, I plan on bringing brand new merch that is only exclusive there because that's where I got my start, and I want to share that with so many people. Last year, I went with a small guest book that people would fill out these little wooden chips that were in the shape of hearts, and they would put it in a glass, or not glass, an acrylic pumpkin, and people would just fill it out. And that's what I used for for like a guest book for when I got married. During that time, I was engaged, and literally a week after, or 2 weeks after Sabotin, I got married. So that was great. um, the convention itself is just so much fun. A lot of my friends are there, and I love seeing them, and I like being able to just hang out with them. And sometimes that's like the only place I can see certain people, and I treasure those friendships and relationships I have with a lot of these folks, and it's just really great to go and see them. So recently, I have been looking into learning how to bake, and I just started my first sourdough starter. I'm really excited, and everything is going well. That's what I'm scared of. I'm not used to like cooking dishes for the first time and it going very well, especially baking. So I'm a little bit worried that um, the sourdough starter isn't going to come out good. But so far, it's been going great. Like, I've been checking online, making sure that it's supposed to look the way it's supposed to look. Um, I've been checking to see, like, just asking a bunch of questions like, is it normal when my sourdough starter smells a little yeasty? And spoiler alert, it's normal. I've also been checking to see, like, normal rise times. So his name is Nathaniel. I named my sourdough starter. Um, he's been rising fairly quickly, and it's been worrying me because the jar that I have him in is very small. And I'm worried that I'm going to look into the sourdough starter and Nathaniel's just going to be all over the place. um, if if you have any tips on making sourdough bread or sourdough starter or anything like that, let me know. I think what I'm gonna do is try and make bagels and a loaf. If I have enough bread, of course. I think it's I have to take out the discard, and then what I plan to do is make either a small loaf or make the bagels with the discard. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. If this isn't interesting, I'm so sorry. It's just this is my most exciting thing that I've done so far this week is I've started making sourdough starter. So the markers I'm using is called Brill Colors. I got them off Amazon. They were $24.99, and I believe they're still that price. And you can check out the link in the description if you want to check out. Maybe that's something you're interested in. However, just to give you guys a small review about the markers. um, they are pretty good quality for what, $25. I got 80 of them. However, 5 of those markers were the exact same color. It was the it was the cool gray. It's the part that I'm coloring right now on screen. I love the color, don't get me wrong. I think it's a great color, but I don't think I need 5 of them. So that's a risk you take when buying these markers. They are alcohol markers, so unfortunately, they do bleed, and the alcohol scent is pretty strong. So if you are sensitive to some smells, and alcohol being one of them, I wouldn't recommend it. After coloring this illustration, I kind of just needed to be outside and have fresh air. That's it's very strong. Um, the color range is okay as well. On top of every marker, there is the color with the representation, like the name on it, to tell you what color they are and what to expect. It's some of them match and some of them don't, and you kind of have to swatch them before using them, so that way you know what you're what to use. I always recommend that for anything, to be honest. Any new pens, papers, anything like that, always swatch. Never use immediately. Don't do what I do, because sometimes I'll just grab a marker and start drawing with it, and it's not the pink I wanted. So always swatch. Anyway, the markers do take a little while to dry, which is really interesting. I never had that before. But I'm not really used to Copics or anything else that's like, Insta-dry. The other markers that I've used are Prisma color markers. Those markers I'm in love with those markers. I don't have a lot right now. A friend of mine actually gave me an old set of Prisma markers that she had laying around, and I was really excited for that. So I'm gonna build up my collection again. These guys I got because, again, I didn't have any markers on hand, so I basically grabbed the cheapest thing I could get, and $25 for 80 markers was a pretty good deal to me. I guess another thing about the markers is how streaky they can be. When coloring in small spaces, you can tell there's like no streaks. However, if there's like a larger space, they do tend to streak. Um, so make sure you're using the right point, if you're using the fine point or the broad point. And also I already talked about the smell, but the streakiness was one of the things that I noticed about this illustration that I wasn't too happy with. But like I said, they're just markers, and this was for fun. Watching myself color is really nice. It reminds me of when I had a coloring book. I had two, actually. I had two coloring books. The first one, I made it through a Kickstarter because I went through a publishing company to get it started. And that one was about ocean facts and flowers. So that was basically it. On one page, it had facts about um, the sea creature or plant that I drew, and on the other page, there was the sea creature, and I had like sharks, octopus. I knew I drew a lionfish in there. And the second one was my more successful one. Was a It was a cosplay cat coloring book, and that one was a huge success. I think that particular coloring book I had to restock because I sold most of them out at my first convention, and I was really excited about that. One of my favorite coloring pages was one I did of Bob's Burgers, where I made Bob look like a big chunky rag doll with the small snoot, and Linda was a tall Siamese cat, and I had the Belcher kids as little kittens, and that's like my favorite page. And seeing this again makes me wanna. It kind of makes me want to just make another coloring book. It's on my list of projects I need to do. You know, the more I think about it, the more I want to jump back into doing coloring books. I see it I see it in front of me and I like it. I hate the colors I used. I don't know what I did. But the color palette's not great. So I'm going to have to figure out a better color palette. But I love the idea of making another coloring book. As for this particular item, the carousel, I think I'm gonna do this again, but I'll do it on my tablet, and I'll be able to really, really branch out and see what I can make with this, because I'm loving what I'm seeing so far. Like, this is the rough draft. This is probably gonna be phase 1, and then later tonight I'm gonna work on phase 2, 3, and 4. I want to see how much products I can get out between here and say June or July. I like where this is going, and I'm excited to see the outcomes. I would like to make, if I could, I can make a notebook, which will be really interesting because I haven't even explored making notebooks, at least here at home. I have the machinery to do it. I'm just terrified of doing it, you know? And I really shouldn't be scared. Everything's an experiment, and the more I do it, the better I'll get. So. As I mentioned before, the colors aren't my favorite thing in the world, but it's just phase 1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look up different color palettes that have been used for carousels and other attractions and kind of just go from there. I think, you know, a couple whites, bright colors, that kind of thing, I think that'll really make this, you know, look great. And I might just draw these guys a little bit differently as well. But here he is. Here is the finished product, or the finished illustration. I'm excited to see what else I can do. But for now, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks.